How is your day going so far?
It's been pretty good.
Been pretty good?
Yes.
Awesome. Awesome. It is where tell us where you are. Where are you located?
I'm located in right now in Plantation, Florida.
Okay. All right. What's the weather like there right now?
70s. So
70s?
really, really pretty day today.
Oh, really? It's been cold
Yeah.
and rainy here in Georgia. So I wish I was in Florida where it's been a nice day today
Yes.
weather-wise.
Yes.
So how we're going to do our session today is I'm just going to ask you some questions that either people have given me or that I had before you and I worked together.
Mhm.
And for those that are watching us either on YouTube or on Facebook inside of our community, just feel free to post any questions, but we do have a string of things that we're going to go over today because really our objective is for you, the travel advisor, to get comfortable with Cuba as a destination, and then also to be able to sell it to your clients who are also interested in going as well. So I, again, am super excited to have Letty Annette. Did I pronounce your last name correctly?
Perfect.
Perfect. All right. Annette from Letty's World Travels and Tour, and she is out of Florida. And so she is actually the destination management company that we're working with to host our first fam trip in Cuba in February. So let's get started. So the first question I have that was burning in my mind when I thought about Cuba was, what does a first-time visitor need to consider when thinking about going to Cuba as a destination?
Okay, so some of the questions and concerns and of some of the clients, my clients and some of my agents' clients is, what should I expect of a visit to Cuba? Because Cuba is being forbidden for so long. So it's not a tourist site. It's not a tourist trip, I might say. You are able to do a lot of the tourism like any other person can do from Canada or any other traveler. But we have to keep in mind that there are restrictions with Cuba because of the embargo that US set up on Cuba many, many years ago. So technically you can use the word tourist. You're not going there as a tourist, you're going there as a person that wants to connect with the Cuban people. So what to know about Cuba, what you need to know, it's that Cuba is a very safe place. So the crime rate there is very low. Cuba has so many different UNESCO World Heritage Sites to see in the countryside, in the colonial areas, in the old Havana, that you need 2 or 3 trips to really be able to experience and enjoy all of those sites. So that's Cuba. You can enjoy the beaches. It doesn't mean that because you're not going as a tourist, that you cannot go and sit down at the beach, have a drink, and have a good time. What you cannot do that is do that 7 days a week. 24/7. But you can still enjoy the beautiful beaches in Cuba. They have caves, they have a lot of different experiences. And as long as you go, this is what we advise. And some people tell me, of course, you're a travel agent, so you're going to advise that. But I have many people that at the last minute call me and said, I don't have any money left. What can you do? You're an agent. I'm like, I'm sorry. There are things to know there. It's like no credit cards, no debit cards. You need to have enough money to complete your trip. If not, you're going to have a miserable trip.
But that would be anywhere, right? So that's not unique to Cuba. That's everywhere. If you don't have enough money.
Overcharging other places, right? You said,
Yeah.
okay, I need to charge this, and you know that you went overboard. But this is not the case in Cuba. So anyway, but it's safe. People are very, very friendly. There's a lot to do there. There's a lot of culture, very enriching cultural activities. So I think that is a very unique experience. It's not like going to some place and laying down at the beach and not getting to know the country. Here you get to know the country.
I think that's really good to know. I think one of this next question I get a lot of people over the last couple of several months since we've been planning our trip ask me about accommodations. So talk to us about what can you expect in terms of accommodations, an experience versus Airbnb versus resort. What can agents need to know, and what do they need to tell their clients when it comes to the accommodations?
Okay, so the first thing is that we as Americans are not allowed to stay in all-inclusive resorts. So that's a no-no. So there's only a couple of places, hotels that we can stay in Cuba. One is in Havana. It's a brand new hotel called Grand Aston Havana. It's a 5-star hotel. It has a great location, modern hotel. Doesn't give you really the Cuban experience. You don't feel like you're in Cuba, but that's an option for those people that don't feel comfortable with the Airbnb option. Now, we as Cubans try to promote the Airbnb option because it gives you more of an authentic experience. It makes you have a chat with the cook in the morning, have a chat with the host when they come to make sure that everything is okay, because the hosts don't live there. You know, they almost hotels, you know, in that sense, but they take care of your needs. If you want a special snack, or you want to change the sheet because something happened, then you know you have them there, and that gives you that opportunity to talk to them. And most importantly, the Airbnb, because it's a private enterprise, helps justify the support for the Cuban people, approved category that we are using to go to Cuba under, which is another thing to explain later. But this is one way of supporting the Cuban private businesses that never existed prior to 2010, you know. So that's a way that our government here see that we are supporting, because we're going directly to the people versus going to, you know, a business that might be operated by the Cuban government.
By the Cuban government. And so
Yeah.
you've given us a 5-star hotel accommodations. You know, I've never stayed in an Airbnb outside of the country. And so for those who may be concerned about that, I think you've done a really good job explaining kind of what the expectation is. Is there anything that an agent should know about an Airbnb experience if they've never also been to an Airbnb out of the country? Any concerns that you can think of relative to that?
Well, there are all kinds of concerns out there with that company Airbnb, and that sometimes you book, but then your booking might not be there when you get there. Those kind of things can happen here because the Airbnbs that I use, and I don't pick them out of a hat. This is a relationship that I have with them. I have colonial houses. I have apartments across from the ocean. I try to have the Airbnbs pretty close together within walking distance. So if we have a large group, maybe we can have only 2 Airbnbs versus using 3. So all of that give us the flexibility. Plus, I know the name of all of the owners. We've been working for quite some time. They even go beyond everything that I ask of them. So this is not a pretty picture on Airbnb and hoping that
you're not selling Airbnb. This is not an infomercial for Airbnb. It's funny.
About Airbnbs. I worked with them before, and they proved themselves to be able to give the service.
And I think that's really one of the keys too that I would like to impress upon people is that when you're working with a DMC like Letty, you've got that you're on the boots. Like not only are you boots on the ground, you're from Cuba, like you know the country, you know you have the relationships on site, you know the owners of the Airbnb. So that makes it even more worry-free from my perspective as an advisor. Selling in an area that I've never been to or traveled, is working with someone like you who knows the accommodations and can vouch for the accommodations, because it is a pretty risky thing. I think, at least I don't know for you travel agents out there, but for me, when it's a destination that I've never been to, I'm very like scared. Like, am I making the right choice? Am I sending my clients to some place that I've never been to? So it's really super important to work with people that you trust and that actually have boots on the ground there. So that's good to know about the accommodations. The next thing is American travel restrictions. One of the things that I heard when I was starting to plan for this is that we had to fly, like, oh no, you can't go directly from America to Cuba. You need to go to Jamaica, then hop from Jamaica to Cuba. I was like, I don't really want to do all that. So can you help us understand what that really means in terms of travel restrictions, if there are any at all?
Okay, so in the past, I'm saying prior to 2015, when things got a little more loose and commercial airlines started flying to Cuba. Before commercial airlines started flying to Cuba, we had charter companies that were traveling to Cuba from Miami and Tampa. I'm not sure. I don't think that Fort Lauderdale had anybody, but commercial flights were not approved to fly to Cuba. Okay. So, so what happened in the past is that Americans that wanted to go had to really cheat the system. So the way they do it, like Bahamas was the first place they would go. And I see people going from our plane in the Bahamas to another plane, not going to the terminal or anything, going right to another plane that was going to Cuba. So that's the way people got away with it. And they were not stamping the passports in Cuba.
Yeah.
So it was an illegal way to do it. So that's the old way. The problem is that some people still think in the old way.
They still think that that's the way.
After they open up and we had commercial flights, then we had cities that started opening. Of course, a lot of different airlines started opening up and seeing the big business of Cuba, and everybody went and opened up. So then with COVID, we lost some of them, but we still have American Airlines, JetBlue, United, Southwest, that travel to Cuba from Miami, Fort Lauderdale, Tampa, New Jersey, JFK, Dallas. So, and then some, of course, connect down here in South Florida, but they are legal flights to Havana or to any other provinces that they already open up.
Gotcha. So that's good to know. So yeah. I actually, along that same lines, I had an agent I talked to a couple of weeks ago, and they were like, well, I tried you can't fly to Cuba. And I was like, well, yeah, you can. So I Googled it and I was like, yeah, you can fly. There's a flight out of Miami. There's a flight out of here. There's a flight out of there. So one of the things that I would warn travel agents when it comes to booking flights is some of the consolidators may not offer flights to Cuba, like Centrov. I don't know if Skybird does, but I use Centrov a lot, and they don't have flights going into Cuba. That just means they haven't purchased them and offer them to agents wholesale, but you certainly can get a direct flight, like Letty said, through American, Southwest, or the other vendors. So just, if you can't find it right away, don't think you can't fly there. You just need to do a little bit more research, and definitely don't expect that the wholesaler is going to have it, because I haven't found a wholesaler yet that offers it. How about you, Letty? Do you know of any?
They don't have it.
They don't have it. It's all direct through the airline, right?
The way that I search flights for my clients is that I go into Google and I just do flights to Havana from San Francisco, and then I the best flights. That's it gives me Southwest does it, United does it, the other one and then they give you a whole bunch of different options. That's the way that I would do it, because it's an easier way to know comparison, pricing, things like that. And then the same thing with just until recently, I think it was like 2 months ago, we couldn't go to the provinces like Santa Clara and Varadero, and we couldn't fly there anymore because they closed it down at one point in time, and they only left Havana open. I mean, to us, not that these airports closed. So now they open. So now we have like 3 or 4 other provinces that are open for business. So if our client wants to do, let's say, a longer trip, and want to start in Havana, do whatever they can do from Havana, but then continue to the countryside, they can actually leave from an airport that is closer, instead of having to drive all the way back
to Havana,
back to the States. So we keep on top of that, depending on how long, it's the trip and whether they want to go, what kind of things they want to see.
That's awesome. All right. So what do you say is the best time to visit Cuba? Okay, first of all, wait a minute. Am I pronouncing it correctly? Like, am I pronouncing Cuba correctly? Because like some people, it's like a long O, Cuba. So am I pronouncing it? You pronounce it, and let me hear you pronounce it.
Cuba.
Cuba. See, I wasn't pronouncing it. I sound like a Southerner, a Southern Texan person.
That's Spanish, but Cuba is acceptable because that's the American way. The
Say
same way
as
Havana is not written down with a lower V. Havana really is a B as in boy. But we all write Havana the other way because that's the Americanized way.
That's the Americanized. Okay. For my American ear, say it one more time, because by the end of this conversation, I'm going to pronounce it properly. So say it one more time.
Cuba.
Cuba. Did I do it? Cuba.
Yeah.
All right.
Cuba.
I love it. That's going to be my thing. So by the time February, I'm going to at least be able to say a couple of sentences. I'm going to be practicing. Okay. So best time to go to Cuba.
Best time to go to Cuba is, I will always say that the months of July and August are not my preference because it's very hot.
Okay.
So I even struggle with it, and I'm from Florida. Okay. So because you don't have air, it's not like the United States that you have air conditioning 24/7. So it might be that you're visiting a place that doesn't have air conditioning, and then there you are dying. So from that perspective, I would say those 2 months. Other than that, the most expensive time to go to Cuba is at the end of December, past December 20th until like January 7th. That's the most expensive part of going to Cuba. Other than that, it's a little bit up and down, but it's almost the same price. So from the pricing standpoint, there's really no benefit.
There's no.
Yeah, and the weather is the same, as Florida. So there's not a lot of change in weather. There's not, the Canadians and the Europeans go like they come to Florida in the winter. They go to feel better, feel the warmth. But other than that, for those 3 things, I would say Cuba. Anytime you can go to Cuba and have a good time.
And have a good time. All right, that's good to know. All right, so let's talk about some activities. Like, what are some common and uncommon activities available to someone who travels to Cuba?
Okay, so the good thing is that there is a lot to do. So starting with the city has a lot of architecture, old colonial architecture. You can spend a whole day or break it into 2 and really go and enjoy the plazas, the old colonial plazas. They have all kinds of stuff, forts and different hotels from colonial times, and that's very pretty. They have museums, the classic car museums. They have the art museums, the rum museums. So there you can spend some more time. Hemingway experiences. So they have where he used to drink, his countryside house. You have the gorgeous beaches. They have caves at the beaches. They have caves at the countryside, horseback riding on tobacco plantations. You have the cigar experience. You can go on and visit the cigar factories. There's a lot of Afro-Cuban culture, drums, rumba on the streets. The nightlife is unbelievable. You still get the old way, the old style cabaret shows.
Oh,
For
wow.
people might be corny. I love them.
I do too.
Yes, and their outfits and their makeup,
Artistic, yeah.
their training is unbelievable. So I go and I don't get tired of watching those shows. And then you get that, and then or you might get one that is an old band with people that used to be in that band maybe from the 1960s. So
Oh, wow.
yeah, and then you see these old ladies that are 90 years old and they're still singing and they're still dancing and bringing the people to the stage. And
Yeah.
so you get a lot of activities. They have other places like are more for like a younger crowd, but still very interesting, where like there's a place called Fábrica de Arte, and it's an art, I would say it's an art building that has different rooms and different music in those rooms. So you have a different vibe in each room. So you go in there and you experience it all. And I get very good reviews from that. So lots to do. I mean, I tell you, in one trip, you cannot just hit the whole thing. So
you just mentioned that earlier when you first started. You said you need to like get if you want to go, you need to go at least 2 or 3 times so you can experience all the different types of feels of, because you've mentioned the beach, you've mentioned sort of this nightlife and cultural experience too. So that's really exciting. So this is not something we talked about before, but like you mentioned Havana, and then you mentioned another province area. Like location wise, I assume most people are coming into Havana. But talk to me about some of the other locations. You mentioned Ernest Hemingway's. I know that's one of the activities that we're doing. What are some of the other provinces that are uncommon or common for people to visit?
Okay, so the way that if I have to, let's say a client wants to know Cuba, the way that I would do it first is I say, depends on how long they have. I say, let's start with Havana. And some people say, well, I have a little more time. I said, okay, so let's take a trip to the countryside. So you can do maybe 4 days or 5 days in Havana, and you hit a lot of those spots. And then one day you just take a 2-hour ride, and then you are in Viñales, which is one of the most beautiful countrysides. They have mountains, hills that you don't see any other place, caves, and plantations for tobacco plantations. You can actually stay there overnight, but people usually do it during one shot. So they go very early in the morning, do it all, and then come back.
That's awesome.
But then like about an hour from Havana on the same direction, you also have another place. It's a community. It's a self-maintained community, and they have rivers, waterfalls. You can have we Cuban love pork, so you can have pork asado. That means like your roasted pork. In a big camping place, and take your bottle to the river and the waterfalls, a couple of drinks. So it's kind of like a nice way to spend the day. It's nice because it's closer to Havana, but it's no comparison to Viñales.
Okay.
So that's, if you want to do the countryside, that will pretty much really will do that for you. If you want to go to that one of the most beautiful beaches in the world, you have to go to Varadero Beach, and that's another 2 hours opposite way.
Okay.
So in Varadero, it's a very shallow beach. I compare it to in San Thomas, you have Maggins Bay, which is a very shallow blue beach. This is the way Varadero is, but it's a peninsula, so you have lots of beach. And there's a couple of very famous caves that you can swim in around there. So you can actually spend a night in Varadero, or you can just go for the day. But then if you want to do more like the caves, you can do that. There's another place that you can go, which is a private island, that you go in a boat, and then you do the drinks, and then you go snorkeling, and it's a beautiful place to go. You can do that from Varadero.
Okay.
staying in Varadero. But anyway, there you go down and then you can go snorkeling at something. It's a place called Caleta. Caleta Buena, and that is known for, that's where close to the Bay of Pigs, where the big ordeal happened with the Cuban, all of that. It's close to there, but it has a beautiful cave for scuba diving and snorkeling, because it has a lot of interesting species. And so anyway, so if people want to go down south and know more of Cuba, that's a place where they stop. Then they go to another World Heritage Site that is the city of Cienfuegos. It's a beautiful colonial city. From there, you can go to another place called El Nicho, which is mountains and waterfalls. And then that's a completely different part. I'm telling you, that's about, from Havana to Cienfuegos, it's about 3.5 hours, 3 hours.
Would you stay there overnight, or would you do
Definitely.
that as that?
And the way we do that is that if we go from Havana, we go Havana to Caleta, they do all of the snorkeling and all of the beach stuff, continue to Cienfuegos, have dinner there, then just kind of like look at the city. In the morning, they do a little bit more city, have some lunch, and then start heading down to Trinidad, which is the other famous city in Cuba. And Trinidad is about 1.5 hours from Cienfuegos. And then they spend a lot there.
I feel like I'm not doing enough. Like, I'm like, okay, so I'm gonna have to do that trip too, because I think the February trip is not enough. Like, I'm already like,
but I tell you, that like I would do first a Havana, like what we're probably gonna do Havana, and then you can do. Then once you do Havana, instead of spending a lot of time on Havana the next time, like your second option would be to come in Havana, spend a couple of days there, enjoy the nightlife and all of those things, and then maybe go to Varadero, stay one night in Varadero, go down to Cienfuegos, stay one night in Cienfuegos, and then do 2 nights in Trinidad and back. And you can do that in 7 days.
That sounds, how many days?
7 days, 7 nights.
That sounds okay. That sounds like a winner. And online.
From there, there's a lot more to do from there all the way to the east, but I have not really been there myself to try and set up relationships there. Gotcha. And there's nothing new to see other than the same things that you can see in these places.
Yep. I understand. All right, that was fun. Okay, so what should we? I was like, that was a fun ride. I'm very excited. So, like, okay, trip number 2 to Cuba. It sounds like we've already got that planned out. All right. So, what should we bring? Like, so what do we need to take into consideration in terms of anything special that we need to bring or consider?
I said just bring comfortable clothes. People wear those comfortable sandals or tennis shoes. It's nice to bring. There's a very sensitive issue with donations in Cuba. So if anybody mentions donations at the airport, they want to charge you a whole bunch of money. So we never give donations. If they say, "Are you bringing something that is not yours?" You said, "I'm bringing a couple of gifts." And the gift word is okay, the donation word is not. So if somebody wants to bring a little gift for a host, or if you want to donate, let's say something, some clothing or soaps or things like that the Cubans need, you can do it, but don't bring a lot. Because if, like I have one agent that she only brought a carry-on, and she brought it in the carry-on, and she brought too much of one thing, and that's it. They actually took it away. I can't believe they did it, because I never heard of it before. She must have way too much of something.
So one particular thing.
A variety,
Make it look like you're packing, not like you're bringing on. Gotcha. Okay, so that's really good to know as well. So no donations, gifts. Particularly if you've got hosts that you're staying with, that's always a very nice, I think, gesture as well, right? Yes. And appreciated. Okay. Now we're going to go to cuisine and drinks. So any special considerations when it comes to food, drink, water that we should know about?
Yes, the water, the number one thing with the water is drink bottle of water.
Don't drink it.
Yeah. because don't drink the water there. It's,
Yeah.
it's not safe. So that's one consideration. The second one is, and this is very funny, but it happens, is that I have clients that after I tell them how things are in Cuba, they still go in there and say, can I have spinach? Can I have avocado? Can I have this? Can I have that? And they request things that cannot be found on a whim. You understand? So, so what we try to, I mean, I'm talking about from the hosts. When you are in a restaurant, you have access to a lot of the good food, but they might not have spinach, for example. Don't be sad because if they don't have spinach, expect that they're not gonna have it. So
Expect that spinach and avocados is not
yeah.
a common item. So I think being sensitive to your food requirements, and that they all may, like, if spinach is your main diet, you may not be able to get that. So I think that's a fair assessment.
But I think that's because they always have great selections of seafood and pork and chicken and rice and mashed potatoes. And I mean, you have a great selection and the taste is fantastic.
Gotcha.
Because most of the places that I like to sell the dinners and lunches, as many as I can, because then I can ensure that you guys are gonna go to the best places that I can offer. So it's not a hit or miss. That's the number one. And the second reason is because of the money reason, is that because everything is cash, then is more cash that you have to take to pay for things. So that's what I tell my agents and my clients. Don't think because the price is less because you don't have these meals, you're gonna pay less, because when you get there, you're gonna have to pay for it anyway, and you're probably gonna pay more. So anyway, that's the thing. I leave it up to the agent to tell me, hey, I want, I'm going for 6 days. I want 4 lunches and 4 dinners, or 4 lunches and 3 dinners, and then we work it out, and whatever you guys think that you want to do, that's what we'll do.
So I think you just alluded to my next question, which was money consideration. So before we go to money, specifically from a food perspective and a drink perspective, so we talked about like water and we talked about food. Anything that we need to know about liquor? Because I'm a liquor drinker, so I'm always going to ask about the liquor. Is there anything I need to know about liquor or anything like that?
Not really. There's a lot of course, a lot of rum in Cuba. That's what people drink the most. But any place that you go, it's fine. It's not, and it's normal pricing, less than the United States, but it's going up. All of the prices of the beers and stuff like that is going on.
I think that's just everywhere, like internationally, domestically, everywhere, the prices are just going up. So from water, so just to recap, water, don't drink the water, drink bottled water. Liquor is not an issue. Food, if you're being hosted by someone, not every choice that you have. But when it comes to planning your trips, or working with Letty to plan your trips, try and include as many meals as possible in the itinerary or in the design of your trip, so that you can minimize the amount of cash your clients have to bring to account for food, because there's no swiping of the credit card, which is the next topic, really, is money considerations, right? So what do we got to think about when it comes to money transactions in Cuba?
So the Cuba is it's messy when it comes to money. So it's very messy. I tell you, what happens today, in 3 months, I might change it. So today you might be able to pay with dollars, tomorrow might not be with dollars, it has to do with euros. So you have to really be on top of all of these changes. As of today, the currency that you can use is euros. Okay, so you have to have euros. But 90% of all other places in Cuba accept USDs. So, except for the airport. At the airport, you need to have euros. If you want to buy a bottle of water or to have a drink or a sandwich, you need to have euros with you. So what I've been telling my clients is, don't take that many euros because you're not going to need them, but leave them as as emergency, and then try to use bring as many US dollars that you can use as possible. And then if you have extras, then you take it home, but at least you know that you have the dollar that you can take back without any issues. The second thing about money is, the good thing is that you are protected, because the guide will protect you, will not let you buy from vendors on the street that are not safe. If somebody comes and say, hey, do you want to exchange money? I can give you this much for your dollar. No, do not exchange to Cuban money. They are worthless. So that's why you don't want to spend that much money where they give you change, because the change they're going to give you is in Cuban pesos. So that's money, you have to spend in Cuba, because they're not worth anything someplace else.
Yeah.
So keep your dollars. That's what is worth the most in Cuba right now, is your dollars. And that's how you want to pay. Any place that you can pay with dollars. And then the rest is euros.
Denominations, should we, any considerations on the type of denominations we should be bringing?
Definitely smaller bills.
Okay.
So they don't do a lot of change. Let's say that you give $100 bill on a $27 check. You're going to get the rest, 70 something dollars in Cuban pesos.
In Cuba pesos.
Yeah. So what you want to do is I will bring 20 some down. And then your tips, whatever you might want to buy, whatever they give you, the change they give you is very minimum. And you can spend it on something else.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. That's really good to know as well. So one of the things that you mentioned just in our conversation right now is credit card. No credit card usage in Cuba.
No credit card. No. So just think that you can use them.
Got you. So I think that's a really important thing to do, because in a time where I don't even carry cash, like I literally, when I go out of the country, I always have to go and get cash. I have to remember, because I do 99% of my business through swiping. So that's really important to let your clients know, and also remember if you're traveling as well, that you need to have cash. Letty's recommendation is euros, at least a small amount of euros and small denomination in US dollars. So, okay.
One more thing. So on cash and credit card. So you don't tell me I lied. Like one client tried to tell me I lied to him, but sometimes the hotels have a program where if you need to buy something in their cafeteria or any place in their facility, I don't know exactly how it works, because I really need to check into it. But what I was told is that they say use an American credit card through another bank, and we put it in a card where you can use that card to pay what you need. It's very iffy. I really don't understand it very well, but I'm going to get into it, and I'm going to try to find out from the hotel, this particular hotel, exactly what the client might need if they have to buy something inside the hotel.
In the hotel. And I think when we were talking a couple of weeks ago, you mentioned, like, if you get water before we go out, and you buy something, if you buy a drink at the hotel, because we are staying at the Grand Aston, I think that's where our reservation is. So there may be, I guess what you're saying is that there may be some situation at the hotel, if you do incur charges there, that you'll need to use a credit card there, but that's pretty much the only place that will be using a credit card is at the hotel. Because even if
they meant our American credit card, or if they meant you can put some money into another credit card that they could use. That's the part that I'm not.
Swipeable card or something, like one of those cash cards or something.
But I need to nail down.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Awesome. All right. So money, I think we've covered money. Let's talk transportation. So getting around town, what can we expect when it comes to transportation?
Well, first of all, the public transportation you can't take because it's not safe. It doesn't, the buses don't pass by very often, and you're gonna get a million people inside getting out of the windows because they don't fit the bus. You don't want to be in that situation. I have
Yeah.
somebody might be touching your buttons. It happens. That happens to all the Cubans that go daily to work. Okay, so you would never want to get into a public transportation. I would say that the easier things to do, and that it again is another way to support the Cuban people and meet the category, justify it, is the way we do the cars. You know, we have a fleet of American classic cars that we use. They're not convertibles. I mean, for the convertibles, we have it for different use, but we might have in like 1955, 56 Chevys that are all renovated, beautiful. And then we have the drivers that take care of the car so much. It's like, don't touch my car. So those are the kind of cars that we use. And we, like the Airbnbs, we know the drivers very well. So it's our fleet, and we manage it. You know, we tell them this many people are gonna go with Ale, and the other one is gonna go with Pedrito because Pedrito personality is like this, and this person is like that, and we go through all of that stuff with the Airbnbs and with the cars. But and they pay taxes to the government. So it really helps them a lot when they have business. So what I'm doing, I tell you, it's amazing because these people have been able to get consistent work.
Yeah.
So, and it's the best way to do it. The government have some taxis out there, and then you have some people that have a car that might use as a taxi, but it's really not it's not registered as a proper car. That means it didn't pass all of the safety features that it should have. So you never know when it's going to, you know, die. So I would say that's the way I would do it. At nighttime, our cars for the transportation work from whatever morning time you guys want to start your tours until like dinner time. So we give about 10 to 11 hours, which is a lot.
Yeah.
Anything after that, if the group wants to do something else, I rather that we do it ahead of time and say, hey, we want to go to Fábrica de Arte this night, and then we do it as a group. Or if there's the group wants to do something but not everybody, then you know they can negotiate with the driver. You know, hey, we're gonna do if you know we have a rate for him anyway for anything. Let's say going to the cabaret and back. You know, we do that as a different service, a separate service. It will be the same thing as if you can't even call a taxi, put it that way.
Yeah.
So you need to know somebody that knows a taxi.
You need to know somebody who knows somebody who knows a taxi. That's so funny. It's, you know, again, I've never been to Cuba. I cannot wait to do it in February, but Jamaica is very similar. Like, I mean, you can call taxis, but like, you can't trust whoever you're calling. You got to know somebody who knows somebody about a taxi, or you could end up in Kingston. So yeah, I totally understand that.
I think that if you go, let's say, to a club at night, or you go to a hotel that might have a nice place to sit down and have a drink or something, usually those places have taxis that can take you back home, and that's okay. But you know, it's not my favorite thing to do because I never know who am I gonna get.
Yeah, you wanna also recommend to your clients, listen, we'll curate the entire experience for you, and if you are doing, you know, X, Y, or Z, these are the instructions that you need to follow, and be conscientious of that.
Right.
So, okay, transportation out. So next is, let's talk about working with you. I'm going to start because I've been working with you. It has been amazing. Actually, you were referred to by another agent who had went on a trip. TT referred me to you and told me about you, and it has been a joy. So let me let you talk about working with you, but it has been amazing working with you. You really have. You've calmed my, fears of traveling to a country I've never been to, and then really being able to get the full experience, not only for myself, but the other agents and family members that I'm taking there. So how is it, how does someone work with you? How do they get in contact with you? How does it all work?
Okay, so and it's been great working with you.
It has been great working with
I
you
feel like I have
as well.
like I know, yeah, I tell I have another agent that went with me to Cuba already, Charlie Watkins, and she, she has 4 groups going out with me next year, and and I say, I see you, like, I can tell her she's my older sister because she's a little older. So, but I said, and then she gives me good advice, and then I give her good advice, and we're becoming friends, and that's really wonderful. So, but I'm easy going to work with. I'm flexible. I listen to the client. There's no black and white with me. If one experience you want to change something because you have a group that might like something else, or I work with all of that. Pretty flexible. When it comes to what we know, we only do Cuba. So we put all of our efforts into knowing what's going on there, what new activities might open up, which restaurants open up new, who's number one, new drivers, new Airbnbs. Our team is made of friends. I have friends that were from my childhood friends, and that's how we started, because I was trying to find a way that instead of giving them money, they will make their own money and feel better. Because so and then we ended up, Yailin is her daughter. So Yailin ended up coming to the United States 5 years ago. She started working with me. Her mom works with me. Her husband works with me. Then she introduced me to a lot of different Airbnb people. And then she's like the one that goes and knocks at the door of the Airbnbs and say, hey, I see that this is pretty. Can I see your inside? Do you offer this? How do you work that? And then if it's a match, we might try it with a client. She's in charge of that. And then we have someone, another guy that I call my brother. He's not my brother, but he's like my brother. And he's
brother from another mother.
Yeah, brother, yeah. He's been wonderful with the group because he's in sports. He was a champion in shooting, and connected me with people in the kids baseball department. So I take the kids to play baseball. So if anybody has any agents have any sports that they might want to take the parents and the kids and do a friendly match with the Cubans, we can do that. That's something that we offer. So
that's awesome.
So I go in there and I keep in touch with these people that are part of our teams. I don't see anybody of those people ever been in that team, because if they're not, I'm not interested. I do it for them, So so they make sure everything goes right, and we have meetings every month. I go there and we have meetings and we discuss what's new, what's changing. Is it better to pay with dollars? Is it better to pay with coupons? All of that to maintain the pricing the best way, so we can give the best pricing to you guys. So that's what we try to do. I really do it for them. So I don't have to make a lot of money out of that. I'm retired, sold my logistics business, and I really don't need to work, but I love doing Cuba.
And I can, I tell you this every time I talk to you now, I feel like you and I are becoming very good friends, is the passion that you have for this country and the people that you work with definitely rings through. I can hear it in your voice. I can hear it tonight. I heard it the other day, the first time. I can even feel it when I was talking to you in WhatsApp when we first did it. So some ways to reach out to Letty is she's very responsive in WhatsApp. She's very responsive in email. You send her a request for quotes. So if you've got I've actually, one of my clients, I've sent you there, and I think she is now on her number 2 Cuba trip that she's working with. So just reach out to Letty. I will make sure inside of this video to include the contact information for requesting a request for travel quote from Letty, and she'll get back to you pretty quickly. So the experience has been great. All right, so I have just a few more questions because my gosh, we've been almost at it for about an hour now. Letty, the time is like flown by. One of the things that someone asked me was insurance, medical insurance versus travel insurance. What do we need to know about that?
Okay, so medical insurance is included with your airfare. So just with the return information, the ticket return information, with that, there is a hospital called Cira Garcia that is just for tourists. So that's not just American, it's for any tourist that needs attention. And we have used it in the past. So, and they pretty good. So, so that's how you take care of the medical. The other insurance, it's, in case of hurricane and this and that, I'm pretty flexible, and that's why I give up to 30 days prior to do a lot of changes if you need to, or do whatever you need to do. If some people feel more comfortable buying that insurance, to protect their money, but
and our recommendation as advisors should be always to have clients get it, and they can do what if you include it as a part of your package, that's really your client's choice, but you should recommend it. Absolutely recommend it. If they decide to buy it, certainly their choice. But from an agency to your agency, what you're saying is that we've got flexibility about 30 days before to make any changes. But from our agencies to the end user or client, we want to make sure that we kind of keep that pretty tight,
Right.
And make sure that they cover their investment with insurance to the best of their ability. Right. All right, but medical insurance is included with the air, so yes. That's good to know. At least the basic insurance, I'm sure, to if there's any issues there. So that's good to know. And then the last thing, because Titi, she was in Cuba, and she did this really funny post about, you got to buy Wi-Fi for the Wi-Fi for the Wi-Fi. Let's talk technology and what you need to know about Cuba when it comes to Wi-Fi, internet, phone, all of that. What are some things and tips that we need to know traveling, and also let our clients know?
Yes. So the Wi-Fi there, it's very spotty because there's too many users and not enough infrastructure for it. Yeah. So even though a hotel or an Airbnb, most of the Airbnb have Wi-Fi, at least the ones that I use have Wi-Fi, but you might have a certain time where you can connect. And the same thing is going to happen in the hotels. It doesn't matter where you stay, because it's not the service that the hotel is providing. It's a whole country infrastructure is broken. And actually, I just saw a report that President Biden had promised before to work on the infrastructure with Cuba to make more access to internet, and now they're backing up. So I don't see it getting any better. So that's the internet. I think the best way to get in touch with people is through WhatsApp. So if you do have internet, to use WhatsApp for all your communications, because your phone line will not work in Cuba. Mm-hmm. Now, each provider offers different things, and like AT&T offers a 50-cent text message deal once I get to Cuba. So if I don't have access to internet, then I use that instead, but I'm knowing that it's costing me that much. Yeah. So that's the way you
give away your firstborn child to pay for the bill when you get back. I laugh because I accidentally left a couple of years ago. We went to Jamaica and I didn't turn on the roaming. So we get home and the bill was like $600. I was watching Netflix on my phone. It was ridiculous.
Oh, my
It was
oh
bad.
yeah, airplane mode, or because I think
Yes.
that can you use yeah, you can use WhatsApp with airplane mode, right?
I think as long as you have an internet connection, you
Yeah.
should be able to use WhatsApp. So,
Sometimes
but it also
there's
could
no
depend on your
roam.
service.
Roaming is very expensive,
Yes.
and and sometimes works, sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes I receive phone calls in my phone and I see the number said, nope, I'm not getting
I'm
that.
not
If
answering
I got
that.
it. I
Like,
don't
I'm
that.
like, don't call. Like, I pretty much shut the phone off. Like after that incident, I'm like, we go to Jamaica this year, and I was like, everybody's phoned off. Like we're not doing an almost $1,000 cell phone bill this time. So, all right. So WhatsApp for sure from a technology, you should expect. So expect the worst. Expect that your internet is going to be spotty. It's going to be really bad. The phone may or may not get phone service. If you do, it's going to be very expensive. So expect it. So go there to disconnect. Go
Yeah.
there to disconnect from technology and take a sabbatical, a technology detox when you go to Cuba. That's kind of what the message that I hear
That would
is.
be good for kids, right? To take a whole bunch of
Yes, it is. It's good for adults too. Like I
yeah,
did
get a
that on
bat
my.
and a ball and play on the street. So you see what really is, to socialize.
That's right. Like this, like rest your eyes from being at the screen like this. Do not like do a technology detox. Get one with your environment, the people, have a good time, eat, drink, enjoy your surroundings, and have some in-person conversations. Like I feel like it's pretty sad that we have to say that, but that's what we have to do. We have to say that. So more
Exactly.
in-person conversations. All right, Letty, it is right at the top of the hour. And so the last thing I wanted to just ask, talk about are opportunities to take agents there. So I know that you're hosting a fam trip. I'm hosting fam slash multiple things.
Fun birthday.
But fun birthday, that's right. I am turning the big 50 in February. So
Woo!
or woo, 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 half a
A babe,
century.
a babe.
That's right. That's right. I am a young babe, not to be confused with a half a century babe. So we'll be having fun. And I know that you're doing a fam trip in January, and then you also are offering another opportunity in April, correct?
Yes, right now that's what I have planned for. I just pick dates that are not very busy so far. So January 19th, I have that one, and then I look into the schedule and it looks like April 26th looks good. So I was trying to do that. But any day that anybody wants to set up a group and go, they can let me know, and then I see what's going on with the schedule, because the issues have been that for some reason a lot of agents are asking for Cuba. So just in 3 months, I kind of sold all the way through May, and and then I can say I'm sold out some dates. I don't want to be sold out. I'm looking for more resources that I can trust. But if I can spread it out and still use my Ale and my Pedrito and my, then that's what I want to do, because I know they're gonna be, loving these people. So
Yeah.
that's the way I want to give that experience with those people first. And if we grow and we need to get more people, I want to grow gradually, and to make sure that the people are a match with our
Well,
group.
not if you grow, when you grow. And and you and I will be working on that
Yes.
specifically. So and
Yes.
so I mentioned the FAMs for the purposes of, if you want to try Cuba before you actually sell it, I think a FAM is an opportunity, even if you create your own sort of opportunity, if you can't go to any of the dates that we've got available for you to plug into. Because I always say it's easier to sell something that that you're familiar with, that you've been to. So I really, really encourage you all, as you start to look at your 2023, is to, make Cuba a destination for you to go to if you've never been, and also to offer. It's a hot destination. Like, my goal when I looked at this upcoming year was really to sell more than just the Caribbean. Now, I know Cuba is in the Caribbean, but not to sell the normal Mexico, Jamaica, Punta Cana, those destinations. I wanted to sell destinations that were different. And so Cuba, I just like, my mouth doesn't want to pronounce it, and I'm going to force myself.
Me either.
Like Cuba, that
Cubanita.
Say again.
Cubanita.
Cubanita.
That means you Cuban. Cubanita. You are Cubanita.
Cubanita.
Cubana. Cubanita.
See, I could say Cubana. I could say that, but see, I still want to put that sort of southern twang. Cubana.
Wait until I get you on in February. You'll be an expert.
Cannot wait. I absolutely cannot wait. So, what I guess the message I want to leave you all with is, get out of your comfort zone, right? And Letty, you and I talked about this before. Is like, don't come to Cubana thinking that this is, you strutting on the beach in your bikini and not really immersing yourself with the people, the architecture, the surroundings. This is a cultural immersion type of destination. So make sure your clients are aware of that. And if that's something that you're into, I kind of, when I was even writing and inviting people to this Q&A is that this is a destination for special people who want a special experience. And so with that, I cannot wait to like hug your neck in person, meet you in person, see you in February, which is in just a couple of months. And then I envision, like, even after we talked a couple of weeks ago, I was like, I bet I'll be back there beyond February. So we'll be planning that when I get there in February. Listen, Letty, it was great seeing you. And I'll be talking to you before the holidays. But for those that I don't, have a great holiday. And I'll be seeing you in a couple of months, Letty.
Okay. Thank you.
I'll be posting all the information to get in contact with Letty inside of this video. And if you do have a question, do not hesitate to post it inside of this video and I will get to it. But with that, have a great evening, Letty. Nice talking to you.
You guys too.
All right. Bye-bye.